Hello, what's up, YouTube? So, I just wanted to talk about one of my favorite, or two of my most favorite shows. I've been wanting to do this for a while. I've been wanting to do just like videos about some of my favorite episodes from my two favorite shows, which is Disappeared and which is no longer in production, and Unsolved Mysteries. Unsolved Mysteries is back on Netflix with a whole new format, same creepy music, and new episodes, which was really, really exciting. So, I really do enjoy watching Disappeared. I think that might be probably my. You know what? I think it's a. I don't know. They're both my favorite. I can't choose one over the other. Disappeared is no longer in production, which sucks because I really, really, really enjoyed that show. Um, it was on. I don't know. I can't tell you how for how many. I think it was on for like 9 seasons or something. I watch. I watched every single episode while it was still in production, and I watch all the reruns on Investigation ID on demand. And I'm currently on season 2 right now. That show can never get old. I can never get tired of it. It still piques my interest. It still creeps me out on how some of these people disappeared. So I just wanted to do maybe a couple of videos on some of my favorite episodes from both shows. So this one is going to be about Disappeared and just some of the episodes that really stuck out to me, that lingered on my mind, that I Google about, and just left a huge, huge question mark. Okay, so, and on Disappeared, a lot of the episodes were basically solved. Um, there was still probably a mystery as far as where were the bodies. For example, in and of course I haven't done any research, so I'm just talking off the top of my head. I've forgotten all the names. But on Disappeared, on the episode of the basketball player, he played for the, don't make me lie. I couldn't tell you. But he was a professional basketball player who went on a trip with his girlfriend on a yacht and subsequently was murdered by his brother. And the brother ended up committing suicide in Mexico. Excuse me. On that one, safely assume, I mean, there's really no question on what happened. They were murdered in some manner by the brother, the basketball player's brother, and then the brother ended up committing suicide. So, that's basically solved. But of course, since the body was never recovered and the brother ends up committing suicide, basically it's kind of like, well, we really don't know what happened. But yeah, one of the episodes that stuck with me was the one about another basketball player. He was a Harlem Globetrotter, and he lived in California, but he had a girlfriend in Seattle, Washington. And this is after his basketball career had ended. I think it ended from an injury, I think. He was no longer playing basketball and he was trying to reinvent his life. And he ended up getting a job in Seattle. I think his girlfriend helped him get a job in Seattle. So he was going to start, the next chapter of his life in Seattle, Washington with his girlfriend. And he ends up disappearing. So it happened when he was supposed to have driven from California to Seattle. And he was driving alone. And I don't remember the length of time or the number of miles, but it was a lengthy drive. And the day before he left, or a couple of days before he left, he was at his mother's house. And I think they had said that he was acting a little bit erratic. Now, he was a recovering drug addict, but it appeared that he had gotten that under control. So he was in recovery. He was in full recovery. That was no longer an issue, it seemed. And I don't know if I don't think he had been drinking, but he was definitely acting erratic. And I think the people who were interviewed on the show alluded to the fact that maybe he had relapsed because he hadn't slept. He shows up at his mother's house and he was tired because he hadn't slept. And he wasn't physically tired, but because of the lack of sleep, his mother was trying to encourage him to, son, before you go, I want you to get some rest. And for whatever reason, he refused to go to sleep. And he had been up for like 2 days, maybe 3 days straight with no sleep. And then in this condition, he decides to take this trip from California to Seattle. So while he's driving to Seattle on his road trip, he's communicating with his girlfriend. She's helping him stay awake. They're conversating on the phone. And then at some point, she had lost contact with him. She had never heard from him again on the phone. His mother couldn't get in touch with him. So through, I guess, various witness reports and police investigation, they were able to, it was passersby, which was grandparents and their grandson who were driving by, and they noticed a backpack, and the backpack ended up being his. And the backpack was left on the side of the road. I think this was still in California. The backpack was left on the side of the road, and it was next to a creek. And so law enforcement assumed, so they saw the backpack, they took the backpack with them. And I think when they heard about the story about the Harlem Globetrotter being missing, they contacted authorities and let them know that, look, around that area where he disappeared, we found a backpack. So law enforcement they found his car where it was parked, and inside the car, it was completely disheveled in the car. They said there were CDs strewn about, there was trash everywhere, and I think they found his phone, and his phone was recording him, but he didn't know it. So his phone had recorded, I guess, his last moments before he disappeared, where they said that he was, you could hear him singing. He was like singing to the CDs, and you can hear shuffling of paper. And so then they don't know what happened to him. I don't know if he had run out of gas or he was just taking a rest stop. I'm not sure exactly why his car was parked there, and his car was parked near the creek. Now, I don't know the distance between the car and the backpack, but the car was, I think, parked near the creek, because I remember a police officer saying on the show that they kind of, it looked like maybe, he had stopped and wanted to do some sightseeing near the creek, or he wanted to take a drink of water from the creek, but his car was found there. So they don't know what happened. If he was having car problems, if he just wanted to stretch his legs. The guy just disappeared. And I think they had determined that he didn't drown in the creek. They couldn't find his body in the creek. So he was never found again. And of course, seeing the interview of his mother, I mean, you just felt the anguish and the pain that she felt. And it's just like, what could have happened to this guy? Did he get lost? Did he take a walk somewhere and get lost? Did he take a ride from someone? Like, how does this happen? How could this have happened? And that's one of the cases that really stuck with me. And it's one of the cases that I'll go back periodically and I will look it up, to see if there's been any new information, any updates. But the lack of sleep, acting a little bit erratic, having this long road trip ahead, his car being found the way it was, and then the backpack, it's just like the biggest mystery of what could have happened to this guy. I don't know. But if you have any clues, any ideas, any theories of what could have happened to this Harlem Globetrotter, man, please leave it below. I'd love to hear your opinions, your thoughts. Or what could have happened to this guy? Do you guys know who I'm talking about? Does this case sound familiar to you at all? If it does, let me know down below, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.